What's up, everyone? How you guys and gals doing? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Today, I'm going to take the time for the entire segment to talk about this article that came out from Gangster Report. Now, everybody knows Scott Bernstein's over there, and he does this blog about bikers, about the outfit or mob as we call it here, but it's mob out on the East Coast. And he brings up all this kind of stuff, and most of the time it is through law enforcement is his sources, and he even admits this to be true. There's no hiding the fact that a lot of his stuff comes from law enforcement. And if you know anything about law enforcement, they love putting out this narrative that they're the good guy and everybody else is the bad guy and this guy and that guy. Well, after taking a look at this article, I can just say, wow. There was so many factually wrong things in this article. It was unbelievable. I got a text over the weekend that said, why do you even give him the time? And I got to agree. Why do I even give him the time? Now, one of the only times I covered this Gangster Report was with Conan because everybody was sending it in. They wanted to hear about it, which is cool. You know, we're supposed to be biker news. We're supposed to cover everything. But at some point, you got to cut somebody like that off at the knees because what they are reporting is fantasy. You know, this ain't 1970, 80, whatever you want to say. We always say that. This ain't it anymore. We're in a new era, and that era is technology. Nobody is going out doing stupid stuff like that anymore. They're not running drugs as entire clubs. They're not involved in rackets, as he said, especially not bikers and especially not the Outlaws. And I'm going to go through this article point by point, but I do want to say, if he's watching, you went after somebody on the East Coast that is only trying to make a living by working at a bar or strip club, whatever you want to call it. Do you know most bikers do that kind of work, either full-time or on the side to make some extra money? But because of the one that he worked at and its connections to whomever, you went after him for no reason at all. And just because he's in an MC. I think that's wrong. And I think you need to get your facts straight. See, when I do something wrong on my show, I always admit it. Because that's the only way you keep your credibility. And if you got law enforcement pushing a narrative through you, you better check out if it's correct if you're going to be called a journalist. You got to check the facts. And I'm going to point out to you a lot of the facts that you got wrong because, you know, you said in your title, and let me bring this up so everybody knows what I'm talking about here. The return of the Double O Alliance. That terminology was used in the Chicago Tribune and the Chicago Sun-Times when all that was going on. So that's what people call it around here in Chicago because of the Sun-Times, which is totally untrue. See, I've been lucky to know a lot of these guys in this area for over 29 years. Long time. So when I seen this article, and I have to say to my colleague, Marco, don't give this guy any more credence because he's making you look stupid. Don't give him any more airtime because you look like a fool. I look like a fool, and anybody who does biker news looks like a fool by going over this stuff with everybody. Okay. Let's go. And this was 6 days ago. Following a brief flaw in their working relationship, the so-called Double O Alliance is back and increasingly active and bearing fruit, per sources with intimate knowledge of the current team-up. Who are your sources? You are now making accusations against this club, and you don't even put in there your sources. And now you're also bringing in the outfit, which you got some balls, by the way, and the Outlaws being in collaboration in a series of rackets. And now you're claiming mostly work or muscle work, drugs, prostitution, and stolen property rings. I can tell you, going all the way back 20 years, that if we were ever caught, Outlaws or Pistons, doing any of these things that you're saying in this article, we were kicked to the street. You were put out of the club bad. Again, let me say that. You were put out of the club bad if you were into any of these illegal things you just mentioned. So that's where you're wrong right there. Here's another one where you're wrong. Let me make sure this is up there broadcasting. Okay. Things came to a virtual standstill for a short time in the early 2010s after the jailing of Outfit Street boss Fat Mike Sarno and his pal, Outlaw member Mark Polchin, for extorting or related firebombing of a suburban Berwyn storefront. Mark Polchin's one of the hardest core dudes that I ever met when I was younger. Hardcore, man. True diamond. But here's the problem. He was not an outlaw when this happened. And you never confirm that because you don't have any confirmation from your so-called sources, or probably didn't even ask if he was a member at that time. He was not a member of the Outlaws when all that went down. Berwyn storefront before wrapping up again in the past decade or so, according to sources. Sarno 65 and Polchin 56 owned a pawn shop and jewelry store in Cicero that doubled as a fencing hub for stolen merchandise. It sounds real good from a movie. That's kind of how it works, doesn't it? Now, here's where you're really wrong. And your sources are very wrong. Per sources, probably some of the same guys that gave you the wrong information above. Some of the top outfit figures in Cicero right now are close to an outlaw shot caller nicknamed Goose. There is no Goose in the Outlaws here in Chicago. There has never been a Goose in Chicago. Again, going back even 20 years. I never heard of a guy named Goose. And neither have they, because he doesn't exist. And I confirm that. He does not exist, because I didn't know, okay, somebody come along that I didn't. He doesn't exist, but you got it in here right now that the supposed Goose was a convicted murderer, also known several outfit up and comer kids. And here's something you really are screwed up with. And you put it in there, I get, to make your story seem legit. The Outlaws nationally are facing threats from the pagans and Mongols per sources and federal intelligence memos. Yeah, that's where I want to put my freaking trust in, is a federal memo. That has nothing to do with this because it don't exist. If there are members of a club that know other people, that's them. It's not a whole club doing that. It's just like, I would have to say, a friend on the East Coast, what you put him through for no reason at all. That's how messed up your writing is. Now, can I blame you? Well, kind of, man, because you're taking law enforcement reports. Why don't you go and verify it with another source? And that's why I say to Marco, stop quoting this dude. Stop covering his stuff. Clicks, views, whatever they say aren't worth this. And it makes us look bad if we're covering biker news because, yeah, this is going to get clicks and stuff. But it's wrong to share this kind of information that is totally wrong. Now, according to court filings and police records, you brought up Tommy, West Side Tommy, man. You're talking that this so-called alliance goes all the way back to the 1970s. This is 2023. Again, it's technology out there. Nobody is doing anything. Again, you got hustles going on the side, but see, a lot of people don't understand there's a difference between a hustle and the club. You might have individual members that are out there hustling, but it doesn't mean it's being called in an organized type of way, regardless of what the feds, state, and all that have to say. I should have turned this off before I did it, man. And you know what it was? I got a text message over the weekend and I was like, damn, I just got this as I'm recording it. I was like, I better learn how to turn my phone back on after recording. But anyway, you start talking about stuff that long ago. That's almost 40 years ago. So much has changed since then. But when you're targeting individuals with their names, where they work, like you did out with the guy on the East Coast, you're messed up, man. You really are. And I have to say, this is the last time I'm ever covering any of your stuff. And I'm suggesting that to Marco, Black Dragon, and whoever newcomers nowadays that are getting into biker news that don't know what the hell they're doing. You got to be able to not only read what's going on, but you also have to research it. Just like they said, he said here, the Buffalo Outlaws chapter is heavily connected with Western New York mafia activity. That's bullshit. It's bull. Not one person from AOA has ever went down for the connections you're talking about. If they're so-called heavily connected, why ain't there arrest on RICO and everything else? There hasn't been in years and years. You got to get it straight, man, because I tore up this whole article in a second. Again, there's never been a goose in the Chicago Outlaws, and Mark was never an outlaw when this stuff was happening. He's an outlaw now, but this didn't happen while he was an outlaw. And I know you like using the Sun Times and Chicago Tribune because a lot that was said in here was said there because it's something local. But come on, did you even verify if a goose even existed? Because you're saying it was a relative of Polchin's and is partnered with some of the outfit's younger generation crews in a series of rackets and said he was a convicted murderer. Okay, well, where's the backstory to that? If he's a convicted murderer, how long did he get? You're not showing any of this stuff. These people don't deserve this. What are you trying to do? Set them up for a RICO investigation where the cops can just make up what they want to make up on people? These people got to make a living, man. Make a living. But when you're going back to this so-called 00 Alliance, man, that reminds me of freaking the Tribune right there. And this reminds me of some shotting reporting. If you're going to blog, make sure you're checking all sides of this. Unbelievable, man. That's What more can I say than that? There has never been an alliance with them, and you're being very disrespectful in putting that kind of stuff out and not verifying it. Not verifying it whatsoever, and you're going after people for no reason. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Hopefully, those that are trying to do biker news right now do it correctly and try to get the right information. It's more than just reading an article. You got to at least try in the background to verify this kind of stuff and come out and say, hey, this is what's up. Or in this case, that you were wrong. If you just let it go without correcting the record, you're no journalist, you're no blogger, and you're making everybody look really bad, especially those that do this stuff. So no, I won't be using them or covering them over at Gangster Report anymore. I did it the one time because, you know, it was Conan, and then the other time where I had to disprove what you were saying about guys on the East Coast. Get it together, man. Especially when you're getting into the, the streets like this. Make sure you know what you're talking about, for Christ's sakes. I know you're a so-called investigative reporter, so investigate already. That's all I got to say on that. We're going to go to the second half of the show right now with China Doll. Click that link in the comments section. You can go right there, watch it live while we're doing it, or you can go over to motorcyclemadhouse.com. Listen to it live, baby. It's a good time. It really is. Trust me. Get over there. Join the Insane Throttle Members Only Club on YouTube or Spotify and receive exclusive content. Your membership in the Throttle Club helps keep the show going strong.
Is an in-depth look at the trials and tribulations of street gang and motorcycle club life. This isn't the run-of-the-mill book that doesn't give the goods. This book will go into detail of events that actually happened. All materials in this book have been approved by those involved. There is nothing poetic, nor is there any price worth paying for the life we choose to live on the streets. James Hollywood Machikari, Brotherhood and Betrayal.
Introducing the all-new service from Insane Throttle, Motorcycle Madhouse Radio. 24/7 and nothing but the best in 80s till today rock and metal, baby. And here's an added bonus. You can now listen to Motorcycle Madhouse Morning Show with Hollywood and China Doll live on the air. Go to motorcyclemadhouse.com and bookmark the radio station and get down with the king of biker radio.